Let's talk about the Battle of Saratoga, arguably the most important military turning point of the American Revolution, when farmers, blacksmiths, and untrained volunteers stood their ground and achieved what trained generals believed was impossible. It's October 1777. British cannons roar across the Hudson Valley as General John Burgoyne leads 8,000 seasoned British and Hessian troops into upstate New York. His forces are well-equipped, highly trained, and backed by the greatest military empire of the age. Facing them, a patchwork of American volunteers, farmers with hunting rifles, boys writing goodbye letters, blacksmiths with muskets they barely knew how to clean. By the logic of military science, the American cause should have died here. And yet, it didn't. Because sometimes, when ordinary people believe deeply enough in something, the impossible becomes inevitable. The revolution didn't spark from a single injustice, but from a pile of accumulating grievances. Taxation without representation, oppressive laws like the Stamp Act and the Intolerable Acts, and restrictions on trade and manufacturing all contributed. The colonists were tired of being ruled by a distant king who taxed them, limited their freedoms, and even quartered troops in their homes. They believed they had the same rights as any Englishman, and that those rights were being stripped away. Independence wasn't a rash decision. It was the only option left to protect their future. At Freeman's farm on September 19, 1777, the British advanced in perfect formation, red coats blazing through autumn foliage. The Americans were outnumbered and outgunned. But this wasn't just a battle of bullets. It was a test of belief. Leadership under fire often isn't about strategy on paper. It's about what people are willing to protect. These weren't professional soldiers following orders for pay. They were fighting for the idea that people could govern themselves. Burgoyne followed the European rulebook. March in formation, seize high ground, wait for reinforcements. But that approach failed in the wilds of America. American troops didn't play by the same rules. They struck from behind trees, targeted supply lines, and melted into forests. What the British called ungentlemanly, the Americans called survival. By October 7th, Burgoyne was desperate. Winter loomed, his supply lines were cut, and reinforcements were nowhere in sight. He launched a final assault to break through the American lines. What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. Daniel Morgan and his Virginia riflemen shattered the British center. Benedict Arnold, yes, before he turned traitor, charged into enemy fire and rallied troops who thought they were defeated. These men weren't fighting for Congress or a general. They were fighting for a future built on freedom. 10 days later, on October 17, 1777, Burgoyne surrendered. One of Britain's top commanders, dressed in his finest uniform, approached General Horatio Gates and said, "The fortunes of war have made me your prisoner." But it wasn't just a military surrender. It was a global shift. News of the American victory spread through Europe. France, seeing that the Americans could win, officially entered the war. Spain followed. What began as a rebellion was now a world war, with America at its center. King George III reportedly said that losing Burgoyne's army meant losing America. He was right. Saratoga's victory wasn't without cost. Many died for ideals they'd never lived to see realized. Families were shattered, communities torn. Freedom has never been free. It is bought with courage and sacrifice that echo through generations. But those weeks along the Hudson Valley proved something timeless. When people choose hope over fear, when they'd rather die free than live in chains, empires tremble. When we see the flag wave in the wind, remember those cold October nights when the cause seemed lost, until ordinary people made a choice that changed the world. The American Revolution proved that self-government without a monarchy was possible. It turned Enlightenment ideals into reality, inspired revolutions in France, Haiti, and Latin America, and introduced a new model of constitutional republic. The U.S. Constitution became a global template for rights and freedoms, challenging traditional hierarchies and colonial empires. Though imperfect, it sparked future movements for equality and justice, marking the beginning of the modern democratic era. Happy 4th of July. And don't forget to like and subscribe